Most people hit a wall in life and immediately ask, how do I fix this? But what if that's not the best question? The fastest way forward isn't about figuring it out on your own. It's about finding someone who's already done it. This simple mindset shift of who, not how, might be the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Let me show you why. We've been trained to believe that success comes from solving everything ourselves. The pressure is on us to figure it out, and sometimes, that works. But what about when you're stuck? What about when you've never faced this problem before? What about when the mountain feels too steep to climb alone? That's when how leads to frustration and who opens the door to progress. Who, not how, flips the script. It shifts your focus from effort to leverage, from trial and error to expertise. You don't always need a new method. Sometimes you just need the right person, a guide or a mentor, someone who's been there before. I'm always in the context of helping people just like you to get unstuck, get growing, and get upgraded. That's what we're all trying to achieve, but most people don't know where to start or what to do about it. And I want to bring you this new thought, this new idea today, that actually finding a person who's been where you're trying to go before you is a powerful question for you to ask. You can ask it in this way. You can say, who has already solved this? Or, who is an expert in this space? Who do I know that knows someone who can help? I want to replay those questions to you again because they're so important to help us pivot away from an ineffective method to the method that will get you the result and the transformation that you're so desperately longing for. The questions sound like this. Who has already solved what I'm facing? Who is an expert in this space that I'm in right now? And who do I know that might know someone who can help me? We've got to ask ourselves the question, why don't we ask who often enough? Well, there's a few reasons. Let's take a look at some of them now. First of all, we glorify the self-made story. We love this idea of the man or the woman who was a battler and a struggler, and they somehow scratched around and found a solution and got a cheat code or a life hack that created this huge breakthrough, and they went viral and so on and so forth. And it's an amazing story, and it sounds epic, and it sounds cinematic almost. But the truth of the matter is, there's no such thing as a self-made person. And if we keep on believing that narrative, we're actually just stalling the progress that we long for, because nobody makes it on their own. People who succeed have figured out who has gone before them. Here's a second idea of why we don't ask that question often enough. Here it is, number 2. We are afraid of looking weak or incapable. We're so bothered about this idea of what if I appear to not know the answer? Well, that's the whole point. We all get to places in our life where we don't have the answer. I get to those places in some areas of my life as well. And if we could just throw away this unhelpful idea that we don't want to appear weak or we don't want to appear incapable and replace it with, yes, in this specific area of my life, I am a bit weak. I am a bit incapable, and that's why I'm asking for help. If we could learn to do that more, we would see more progress. Number 3 reason why we don't ask this question often enough is that we have been fooled into believing that asking for help is somehow cheating. And again, it ties into this idea that we have believed we're supposed to know how to get it done, or we believe that we are supposed to know how to figure it out on our own. But the truth is that none of those things are true. In fact, relying on the right person is not weakness, it's wisdom. Think about it this way. If your car breaks down, you call a mechanic, not a dentist. Or if you get a really bad toothache, you call a dentist, not a mechanic. In other words, your first thought when you need help in those other specialist areas is, I need to find someone who knows what they're talking about in this regard. Isn't it interesting how in some areas of our life it's automatic to call the expert, but in so many other areas we have been fooled into believing just do it on your own, just go research and find the answers, when actually there are so many more areas of our life where we can ask the question, who can help me with this? Instead of going down that rabbit hole of trying to YouTube our way through all of it, which is an ironic thing to say. I get it, because you're on YouTube right now and you're searching. The difference is we're looking for people who are experts at having done this thing before. And when we find them, what they can actually give us is far more valuable than just information. You see, the right person, the right expert can bring you a transformation. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this content today and something is speaking to you, I think it's probably because you're waking up to the idea that a proven expert can help you to get a transformation in your life. If you're one of those people that feels stuck vocationally or relationally or just in the season that you're in, the truth is you probably need an expert to help you. Look, there's lots of ways that I can help you. One of them is you could subscribe to my newsletter that I write, Everyday Mentor, where I write about these subjects on a regular basis to give you the proven answers to help you to go from A to B. There's a link in the description for that newsletter. Or maybe you've already figured out that you're really desperate, you're really hungry to get the results you're after. Well, if that's you, then you are the perfect person that I've been thinking about, because I have written and produced a comprehensive course designed to get you unstuck, get you growing, and get you upgraded. And if you take this course with me, I can guarantee you that I will help you to get amazing results in your life. Why can I be so confident? Because I've done it with thousands of other people over the last 28 years, helping them to figure out where they're stuck and why, helping them to get some growth tools going in their life so they can measure and see visible personal growth results, and then finally getting to the place where they can be the best version of themselves, getting their life, their workplace, their relationships, getting everything upgraded. If that sounds like the kind of transformation that you're longing for, please click the link in the description and find out how you can work directly with me in a close way to fast track the goals that you're chasing. Here's a framework that you can rely on when you feel like you're getting stuck. Number one, you've got to define the problem clearly. One of the issues that lots of people bump into all the time when they feel stuck is they know they're stuck and they feel like they're stuck, but they don't really know exactly why and how. But if you're going to get unstuck, you've got to have help to get clarity in what is the nature of my problem. How do I define it clearly so I can move from that place? Number two, you need to ask yourself, as we're talking about through this whole episode, who has already done this? This is super important. And as I said a moment ago, I still do this in my life today. When I'm going into a new learning area or I've gotten stuck somewhere, I look for the right person, because I know that although how is not wrong, but it's often slower and you learn less when you ask how. But if you learn to ask who, the track is generally faster and you tend to pick up more insightful lessons along the way. Number three in our framework is we want to get curious. Pardon my terrible writing. Get curious and reach out. When you start to lean into this framework, your brain will naturally start leaning towards, I wonder who I do know, or I wonder what colleagues that I have and they might know someone who's helpful in this area. And we start to get curious about who could be within our reach that might help us with the particular thing that we're pursuing. And as I've said many times, I help a lot of people in your situation, particularly middle-aged or midlife career individuals who feel stuck, don't know how to grow, and are hoping for an upgraded way of living their life. I help that kind of person all the time, and the results speak for themselves. The fourth thing in our framework that we want to give attention to is we need to choose our who wisely. Now, what this simply implies is that not every single person out there can actually help you. Just because a person has a certificate or a qualification doesn't necessarily mean they're good at what they do. If they've got qualifications, great. And I'm an advocate for getting upskilled, of course. But there are a few things that you want to look out for that go beyond just qualifications and titles. Just because a person says that they're a certain thing doesn't necessarily mean that they are or that they're good at it. So, first of all, you want to know that the person has proven results. And as I've said many times, in the last 28 years of my career, I've spent so much time in consulting and counseling and mentoring and problem solving and training leaders and change management for organizations. I've been fortunate to build up such a broad and deep knowledge base on how to help people get results that I literally have thousands of examples of how people have experienced transformation. Proven results speak for themselves. Here's another thought. Wisdom verified by others. In other words, you don't want people just to say, oh yeah, he's good or she's good. It needs to be more specific than that. You want them to be able to say, oh yes, this person can help you because they've got a unique handle on certain wisdom that when you apply it, it will get you very definite results. That's the kind of verification we want to hear from others. Further to that, we want the people that we talk to have experience in the specific context that we're dealing with. Like we touched on with our metaphor about the mechanic and the dentist, you need to go to the right people who are not just wise, but they've actually been in the situation that we're in. You know, a couple of examples of where I have become an expert is in the realm of things like inner life health and sustainability, learning how to manage the rhythms of your soul life so that you avoid burnout. Now, why have I become an expert? I'm an expert in this realm because I've been through the experience of burnout and I've had to learn, why did I go through that? How did it happen? What would I do better next time? How can I actually help other people to avoid this trap as well? Guys, here's the truth. You don't need to climb every mountain solo. I know it looks impressive, but the truth is very few people ever achieve it, and even the ones that look like they do probably didn't. We get to the peaks of our mountains by being smart enough to ask who else is a great mountaineer, who can help me to know where to put my hands and my feet and how to use the equipment and use the tools to get to where I'm trying to go. Sometimes the best step is simply asking the right person to walk alongside you. So, in conclusion, let me encourage you with this thought. The next time you hit a wall, I want you to pause before you ask the question how, and I want you to consider asking a new question, the question of who, because sometimes the difference between stuck and soaring, it isn't a new strategy, it's a wiser friend. If you could learn to ask who before you ask how, you've got a much better chance of getting to the answers that you actually need to get you from your point A to point B. I'm so glad that you took the time to watch this episode today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it, and I'd love to see you in another episode of the Everyday Mentor with Andrew Gray real soon.